let's get on to the journey of future of social media marketing. So, what do you think is the future of social media marketing? Um, I don't want to start this question answer today, right at this point in time. We will do it once I do it. But what I feel is the future is definitely bright. And why do I say so? I say so because we are a country of 1.3 billion people with a mean age of just 28 years, and that what I mean by is that about 28 years it'll remain for about 25 to 30 more years. So we are the country of the youngest population, and not only that, we have also have the largest mobile phone ownership, and most of those are today smartphones. 5G wave is hitting India soon. 480 million internet users are there today. Like I told, most of the phones that are owned today by Indians are smartphones. So there are about 298 million devices and about 468 million connections. Some people have two phones, so that's why the number is big, shown that big. But social media users within that about 250 million. And the most interesting fact today is that small towns are getting really digitally equipped. If you go and ask Flipkart and Amazon who is your biggest consumer, the answer will not necessarily be from the, of course, urban cities contribute a good amount of commerce to these portals, but there's a good amount of business coming in from tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well. So small towns are getting into this game, and with that gives us a great hope and belief that social media is going to become very big in this country, and we need to brace ourselves for that future. So today I will take you through top trends that will shape the future of social media marketing here in India. So let me take you through on that journey. Be with me, and I'm sure it will be exciting. At the end of this session, we will have question and answers. You can ask me what you want. I want to know about what would be, or something that you are not very clear of, or you want to know more on that. I'm there to answer you guys. The most important trend that is shaping the social media marketing today is influencer marketing. What is influencer marketing? Influencer marketing is marketing done by successful influencers, people who have millions of followers following them on the platform of their choice. It can be Twitter, it can be Instagram, like celebrities like Amitabh Bachchan and Amir Khan and so on. There are millions of followers on that. And if you don't talk about celebrities, there are bloggers like Miss Malini and all again who have millions of followers. So these people are driving the social media marketing today, and each of the tweet will cost you in lakhs. So influencer marketing is becoming very popular on social media today. It has even beaten marketing in terms of Google Trends. So print media marketing is taking a beating from influencer marketing. People with thousands of followers can today leverage their audience and collaborate with brands. These influencers get paid by the brands to promote their products to the audience. And brands, on the other hand, are looking for reliable influencers to collaborate to reach out their target audience. However, it's not only the large influencers with huge amount of fan followers are earning good amount of money today. There is this new breed of influencers called micro influencers. Now, who is this micro influencers within influencers? Micro influencers are those people who have probably little lesser follower base than large influencers, and they charge significantly less as compared to the large influencers, but it makes brands affordable to tap with them and take the messages across. Just like micro influencers, there are people or there are influencers who are called nano influencers. Now these influencers have lesser than about 10,000 followers, but these people are also getting more and more important today for brands. They probably don't have huge audience, but brands can benefit from their tightly knit community that they maintain, and it doesn't require to engage them. Brands don't have to shell in a good amount of money. They can be engaged using freebies and some products here and there, but it's easier to engage with them, and the messaging that happens through them is quite stronger also. So Having said that, identifying these influencers can be quite challenging, because what happens is people buy followers today using multiple means. Some use bots, some use other unethical means to hike up their follower base, and that actually becomes a challenge for brands to understand if it's a genuine influencer or not. So using digital tools that are available today to identify the engagement rate will help the brands to identify the right influencers and connect with them. So influencer management is in the game of social media marketing today, and it is going to become much bigger as the days to come. Another important trend that we see is chatbots and AI becoming more and more important. What I mean by chatbots and AI, chatbots are not humans, but a machine which talks to human beings. These are mostly used for customer service. So you ask something, and that this exchange of messaging happens on your normal chats like WhatsApp also nowadays, or Facebook Messenger, or so and so. You can ask the chatbots anything, and the chatbot actually responds to you like a human being. So chatbots are one of the latest trends in social media today, and it is becoming increasingly simple for people to reach out to brands using social media today. Chatbots are convenient for brands to respond to customers query, because it's not difficult for them to respond to any kind of a query just in a fraction of a second, which will be difficult for human beings to respond to, because human memory is only limited, and chatbots dig into the vast amount of storage of information that is there in the background and come back to you with nanoseconds. And that's why chatbots are becoming increasingly important for brands. And if the chatbots are aided with the AI, the social media marketing is like going another level altogether. Chatbot powered by AI are today used by Facebook Messenger, even on WhatsApp. In fact, when you get on to chat with say your LinkedIn, or even nowadays Facebook, or on your smartphones, maybe an iPhone or something like that, when you're typing a word, the phone will suggest you some words. That is AI working in real time on your phone itself. So these applications have been there, but today the usage has become more and more important and visible. So that's what is the second trend that I would talk about. The third, here is a small example of how MasterCard is using. Here the gentleman is asking MasterCard how did he spend in September and in October month on Uber, and the chatbot is actually responding like a human being and telling him that, okay, this is what you have spent in September, and this is what you've spent on Uber in October. Then he asks, how much did I spend in restaurants in September? So that also is the you know chatbot is responding. And then even if he goes and asks about any queries on his card, the chatbot is able to easily respond. If imagine if this has to be done by human beings, how difficult it would be. So use of chatbots in social media will only increase. Stories, I don't have to tell you about stories. I'm sure you guys must be using it quite well, and stories is will become more and more prominent in the near future. Stories, or if I may call it, ephemeral content. What is ephemeral content? Content that goes off after a short time will become more and more important. This was started out by snapshot as the Snapchat, and then quickly adopted by Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and WhatsApp recently, in fact yesterday, they announced that stories would be on WhatsApp as well. LinkedIn also got onto the bandwagon, and they also said that LinkedIn stories have already started. So these are primarily vertical stories, usually that last for 24 hours, and give people tremendous opportunity to create different types of content. So about 500 million people watch stories on Instagram each single day. Similarly on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, as well as on Facebook desktop. Uh, these stories are highly engaging because of the interactive nature. They catch attention of the million in quite fast. People like you must be hooked on the story completely. So due to this level of engagement, they are becoming a very powerful marketing tool for brands as well. Uh, Additionally, they're easy to create and don't require a lot of post processing. So you don't need to be an expert in creating stories. And the main reason for the success is that they're not too long to watch. Stories are about 30 seconds and quickly done as well as quickly watched also, which is why it makes more and more convenient for people to watch them on the go. So that's how stories are, and if you see 60% of Instagram consumers, Instagrammers are watching stories, 53 Snapchat users are watching stories, as well as 48% of Facebook users are watching stories on each of their platforms. So this is how the importance of stories is growing, and that's why it is becoming more and more important for marketers as well. Use of videos is becoming more and more important today. Um, in fact, videos are slowly taking over text content. According to Adobe, 52% of marketing professionals say that video as a content will lead to more ROI in future. So that percentage is only going to increase, making video an essential aspect of content and media. Cisco also says that by 2022, 82% of all online content will be video content. This clearly shows how important it is to start utilizing video content to staying relevant in the social media domain. As customers spend more time watching videos all across social platforms like Facebook, it's not only YouTube's domain today, but video is watched across Facebook, Instagram, uh, and these videos can be an explainer video, motion graphics, product testimonials, behind the scenes videos. Behind the scenes videos are also becoming more and more popular today, or simply thought leadership interviews, making your thought leaders interact you know uh, with their customers directly on the video. This is this is only going to grow as social media users will adopt. And video minded, you don't need to be a literate person to understand video. So video becomes more and more important. Live videos, so it's not only recorded video, but live video is also another popular trend on social media. They were first launched on YouTube in 2008, and then Facebook brought them in 2016. Now even Instagram has added that feature. So a study conducted by Brand Life says that 95% of marketers are planning to add live videos to their social media marketing strategies. So what does this mean? So whenever a product is being launched, they will actually show it live on Facebook or Instagram, or even Twitter has that option. So you can now demonstrate a product, or how to videos live. So this can help audience just interact with you at that point in time. Becomes more interactive, more appealing for audience, and something that they are seeing live. Live is always preferred. So live videos will gain momentum as we go ahead. Messaging. We only knew WhatsApp as a messaging platform, and Telegram also came in. So messaging is also becoming an important social media platform that brands are using today. Um, and there is a business account that you need to create for WhatsApp. Same with Telegram, but essentially messaging will also grow as the days to come. So messaging apps will give serious competition to traditional social media platform. People want to move beyond commenting on posts and want to interact in the close knit communities, or within their own group. This makes messaging very favorable to them, like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, WeChat, which is where WeChat has garnered about 1 billion active users, and 1 billion active users, and WhatsApp is about I think overall across the world it's about 2 billion. Brands need to understand this, how people are using messaging app, and build in an engagement that they can get in and start engaging with the brands. In fact, many brands have already started sending out messages to their customers on WhatsApp. A lot of bank messages you will see coming from WhatsApp. One good example of a brand using messaging was Absolute Vodka. I'm sure you know this brand, Absolute Vodka. Many might be having a version of it next to the tables right now. I don't want to get into the details of it, but Absolute Vodka, what they did is when they launched a campaign for an exclusive party, uh, if to allow people to enter the party, they created an imaginary bouncer, and you have to send a message and convince that bouncer to let you in. So that was very unique, and which led to about unique thousand unique images, videos, and audios coming to the bouncer, convincing him to let that person into the party. So a brilliant way of using a messaging app. That was a way to promote their messaging app to the users, and they got huge recognition for that. So that's how messaging can be used. It's on you how creatively you can use. There are tools and platforms for every thought of yours that can be used. Next trend is augmented reality. Augmented reality uh, was always there, but probably we have not realized it. We have used filters on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Started in filters. It's possible to give your face different looks, and some people are using Iron Man filters and they're posting it on Facebook and stuff. But this is what AR is all about. Facebook Messenger has made it possible to use AR even in videos. So while it hasn't been used to market products yet, there may be a time soon coming in where we will have branded AR. For instance, you may be able to try on branded glasses before you purchase them. Lenscard does it in some way, but the real use of AR is yet to come. Instagram has rolled out such features, and we may soon see more brands adopting AR in their marketing, you know, scheme of things and within social media itself. So AR is the next thing that will come. I'm sure in 2021 you will see a lot of examples of brands using AR. Voice will boost commerce. This the strength of voice I realized, once one day suddenly. My son, he was quite young, 3 4 not 4 years, but about 5 years old, I think so. And he was able to find videos without even typing, or find out things without even typing. And I realized he was able to do that using voice search, and that was a revelation for me, because I never thought that people who cannot read or write can make use of Google search so very well. And that's what actually is the reality. A lot of people in villages are using their own local language to talk to search engines and to e-commerce platforms, and they are able to commerce using voice. So according to Andrew, who is a chief scientist of Baidu, said at least 50% of online searches will be carried out through image and voice searches by 2022. uh, and with increasing popularity of voice and image, as well as audio snippets and messages you get today, social media could see an act of becoming, typing completely obsolete. People will stop typing in future, is what experts predict. E-commerce is the way of future, and with search interactions having increased, leading e-commerce companies will find voice as a good technology to drive sales and revenue. This was, in fact, already thought before by Amazon, and which is where they brought in Alexa. Google brought in Google Home and Google Assistant. So these devices are going to aid voice e-commerce. This is going to grow big. So it's not only typing comments on social media. It will be voice-led comments that will rule social media in the near future. And mind you, you need to have a good voice to be able to do that tomorrow. If you need to engage with the customers tomorrow, you need to think of innovative ways of using this medium. Vernacular will go mainstream. So this is particularly for India, where a lot of new literates are joining the mainstream, with and they has with so many internet users increasing, and most of them are coming on the social platform. Even this I realized when I went to my native place. Uh, Almost everybody was on Facebook, and if you would have about 500 followers or connections on Facebook, they would have in thousands. Each of their posts will be getting 500 600 likes or comments up to a range of 200 and 300 comments for each post. They look like an influencer when you see their post. So Facebook is really catching up in vernacular language, and so is other social media. And there is a huge amount of growth opportunity for vernacular content in social media. Language-driven services have a strong impact this year in 2020 itself, and players like Flipkart and Amazon are planning to launch their solutions which will be in vernacular language. Apps like Nikki AI, Bulbul TV, Shop 101, they're all vernacularly led uh, uh, channels that are promoting. And with high demand for vernacular content online, brands across segments will be forced to explore this way of communicating with the brand. So vernacular language communications will become more and more important going ahead. The rise of new social platforms. When I say this, it's not only Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn's of the world. There's a huge influx of new social apps that are there in the digital media market today. Something like TikTok. TikTok though got banned, but imagine the the rise that it had in India. And who was there on TikTok? These are not necessarily urban influencers who took to TikTok um, in a big way, but they were small time village folks who went on to TikTok. And immediately after TikTok got banned, there are other apps who came in like Ropozo, ShareChat, Vigo, Bio, you name. There are hundreds of apps today who are targeting um, the, uh, the tier 2 and tier 3 markets today. In Facebook and Instagram have long, uh, though they have long dominated social media and being among the largest social media platform, but in the recent years, it is the dominance of these new age apps that is catching up, and even B2B companies are starting to use the new age apps. Like for example, LinkedIn is for uh, is for business community for networking purpose. There is a there's another big social media community called Twitch that is only for gamers. So such platforms there will be a rise, and we'll have to see many more things. So we'll have to be more vigilant if we need to rule this game of social media. Brands will invest more in UGC. What is UGC? UGC is user generated content. So 90% of purchasing decisions are led by user generated content today, uh, and user generated content now generates about uh, they say about times more engagement than the normal content. Why? Because they're authentic, they can be easily shared, they're cost effective for brands, and they are created outside the brand sphere. Brand don't have to take responsibility of the content that is created by users, but that they can take the benefit of that. UGC helps the brand to build a sense of community amongst the user base. New age consumers don't just buy into product, but they want to experience, and hence they want to engage with the brand. And that content that is created with that engagement is called user generated content. Um, some brands like Airbnb are completely relying on user generated content. So user generated content is not only free, but it is here to stay. It makes brands authentic and trustworthy, and it actually builds a brand image, because people who comment or who drive brand stories themselves are actually big trust factors for brand, and brands will focus on generating more and more user generated stories. So yeah, look forward for that. Rise of social media communities. Now, this one is not new. Social media communities have been there since quite some time. Google Group was there, started in I think 2008 or 2007 maybe. Post Google Group, there were Facebook Group, then LinkedIn Group came by. Today we have WhatsApp Group. So social media communities are there since long, but these communities are now gaining importance today. Uh, and people don't want to live in a world where there are a lot of people eyeing your content. People want to be in the close knit group of their own, so they create groups, and the discussions that happen, which happens there, are quite rich. So brands will look at these groups. The admins of Facebook groups will become gain prominence, and brands will probably tie up with them and pass on their messaging. We do it in many ways where we one small example I could give you is that in Pune, um, Axis Bank was launching a branch in a place called Khardi, a very small uh, location, and we wanted to reach out to locals out there, and we wanted to you know tell them that there is a branch here. You can come in and visit the branch on the day of the opening. So what we did is we identify all the groups of on Facebook, WhatsApp, and we had a tool which helped us identify the contact details of these people. So we created special content for them in Puneri language. We created something called Puneri Patyas, which very it has its own way of communicating with people. So we created those Puneri Patyas specifically for the WhatsApp groups and Facebook group users, and we seen this content in these groups, and we got a huge response. And the day one of the bank opening, they had a huge footfall. So that was a success of engaging these communities. So brands will look at engaging these communities in a big way. So we should be looking forward for that as well. Within all this, with the growth of social media, transparency is something that brands will have to seriously look after. You know, this year, last year was filled with a lot of privacy issues on major social media platforms. Social media platforms were blamed for multiple reasons. Like even today, Trump is blaming a lot of social media platforms. Even in our elections, they said that one of the platforms sided with one of the parties, and so on. So transparency will be a key factor for growth of the brands. People will expect the brands to be more and more transparent. GDPR came into existence in the European countries, and soon that will be here in India as well. That this is a law that forces you to and have only approval of your customer before reaching out to them. So that makes it critically very important for you know brands to showcase their transparency. Sprout Social said that 55% of customers felt that the brands were transparent to some extent on social media, while on the other end, only 15% said that their brands was transparent. So about 85% think brands are not transparent on social media. So that's a cause of concern for brand, and I think brands should look at this. The viral, accessible nature of social media escalates the needs of the brands to commit to transparency in much more reactive and proactive scenarios. So I think transparency is something that every brand manager should take cognizance of and should be aware what and how they need to be communicating. Next important thing is brand activism. This is fairly recent, where consumers are telling brands to take a stand. Uh, this you could have clearly seen when an incident called Black Lives. I mean, George Floyd was murdered in the U.S. and the entire racism came out in a big way, and the entire movement of Black Lives Matter started. when, when this started, consumer expected their favorite brands to take a stand to say that whether they are on the side of racism or they are against racism. There was nothing neutral to it. Everybody had to take a stand. So that is what will sooner or later come to an end, come to India. Consumers will want brands to take a stand on social issues, any of the social issues, be it corruption. Tata Tea started with some kind of a brand activism. There are other brands also who are doing it in India. But in the hypersensitive social media era, brands today no longer can act like just an observer, um, and stay quiet in times of social unrest. We are all aware that the new generation would outcast the brand which they feel are not aligned to their thought process. which or who don't believe in ethical or sustainable practices. So and this is not what only I'm saying, but most consumer surveys are pointing towards this. Consumers expect the brand to take a stand against all social evils, not just superficially, but by actually, you know, showing something tangible to the world that they have taken a stand. Uh, a good example was of Viacom, who completely went out black to all the channels went out black against criticisms from their viewers, um, just to show their support to Black Lives Matter. So brand activism tomorrow will increase, and brands will, on brands present on social media will have to show that they are with their consumers and how they feel against social evils. So that's critically important. Defense against fake news. You know, fake news is all across us, and today we get so many forwards on our phone that we ourselves don't realize what we are forwarding, is it fake or real, and we don't even do any kind of check. And brands can easily get caught up into this maze of fake news. Somebody can create something that is untrue of their brand, and then some just uh, forward it online. A good example of this I could give you is, there was a food brand, and about 4 5 years back they had caught somebody counterfeiting their products. Suddenly, all of a sudden, from nowhere, that video with some modification was resurfaced, saying that there are counterfeit products of these brands available in the market, so stop buying the brand. That itself, that news itself, created a huge havoc for the brand, and the sales went down. We came into the picture. We identified where the news was coming from. We went to the fake news verification site. We got a certificate that that news is fake, and about 100 publications had carried that news already. We went to each one of them, showed them the certificate, and told them to take the news down, and they did that. So fighting fake news will become more and more important tomorrow. And before even fighting fake news, brands will have to start listening to online conversations about their brands. So they'll have to start knowing who is talking what about their brand. So they need to invest in listening and monitoring systems so that they could respond to any kind of fake news in real time. Any kind of a delay in responding to fake news can create havoc on your brands, and I think we need to be, as brand managers or tomorrow's brand managers, you need to be really, really careful about this, and keep tracking what's being spoken about your brand on social media. So that was all from my end on future of uh, social media. Uh, I'm ready to talk to. In fact, before that, I wanted to ask you a question before you ask me questions. I want to know from you,